Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Calm in the Chaos. You might be watching us live or catching the replay, but we just want to say welcome. Thank you for joining us, stopping by to talk about your mental health and how to take care of yourself and all the things. I'm Michele Badie. I'm a program manager and the creator of Keep Your Stride.
And I'm Valerie Carmel. I'm a licensed therapist and a corporate wellness consultant. And thank you guys for joining us for this month's episode of Calm in the Chaos.
So, our focus and our niche for this podcast is discussing mental wellness strategies and insights and tips for project management professionals specifically, but it also carries over to IT and other industries that we cross over to and serving as project management professionals, which is all industries because you can find us all over the place helping projects and programs excel. So, this month, our we're focusing on the future of work, right? So the future of work meets the future of well-being, and that is centered around AI, the ongoing discussion of AI, right? The ongoing discussion of AI, the landscape of it, and how AI and automation is really reshaping our workplace. And if we want to be honest, it is also impacting our mental wellness as well. So, Val, what are some thoughts you have about that?
You know, I feel like there has been such a surge in the past few years of everybody trying to get into utilizing AI in more and more spaces. And in a lot of ways, it's been great. But there's always going to be, with any new thing that we're going to use, a little bit of uncertainty and anxiety around not just the usage of the technology, right? How to, there's, for many of us, there's a little bit of a learning curve in terms of implementing it in our day to day work, but also some anxiety as to, could this in some way, shape, or form replace some of the skills that I bring to the table? And that in and of itself can bring people a lot of worry and a lot of stress within their professional spaces.
Yeah, and the stress from a project management perspective is keeping up, right? Keeping
Mm-hmm.
up, not like, yes, it can curate meeting notes. Yes, it can help with workflows. Yes, it can recap. Yes, it can create graphics and all the things, but it's also keeping up with it because I know I recently had a coworker or a peer. They're like, AI is answering AI, and they were like so anti AI, and I was like, okay, but it's
Yes, that's a thing.
like all it is AI answering AI, and I was like, okay, but we've been asked to use it. The company has invested a lot of time and money into making this resource available, which I thought was just interesting. But everyone has a perspective, right? And so
Absolutely.
for some, it's a great brainstorming tool. Some it's a great clarity tool, like to get ideas. Some to tease ideas. Some use it to curate, responses. And yeah, to a degree, AI is answering AI. But at the same token, the pressure is still there to keep up, right? And
Absolutely.
the pressure's still there to keep up. And then for some people, it's making sure that their voice remains authentic. And what does that look like in the face of AI? Because yes, you can train it to sound and like you, but it's not you. And so some people could be sometimes handling the fear of how AI can impact them. And what does that look like as far as like reskilling to ensure that you can keep up with AI in a way that doesn't overwhelm you?
Absolutely. I mean, in a recent post from McKinsey and Company, they stated that about 80% of companies are utilizing generative AI in some capacity, right? So whether that is, the bots at the bottom of a page to kind of answer questions and kind of field uh, particular problems or troubleshooting, whether that is emails being sent out and auto generating responses. I mean, it is really getting into a lot of spaces, both healthcare, tech, finances, you name it. That industry is figuring out a way to really incorporate more and more AI tools with the idea that it will help its employees be more efficient, more effective, and really utilize AI to kind of offload some of the things that humans don't necessarily have to do, so that people can really kind of focus more on their zone of genius that they can't necessarily utilize AI to be able to generate for them. And so I think in a lot of ways, one, shifting a little bit of the perspective about how AI is being utilized in terms of, is it replacing a human, right? Which is where I think a lot of people get very resistant to that idea, versus are we utilizing it to support and bolster the efforts that humans are already doing, right? And so I think that in and of itself really can help to not just shift the perspective, but also shift the emotional response that a person is going to have based off of based off of the way that they are actually utilizing the tool.
For
So,
sure.
right. So when it comes to, working on programs, have you noticed that there has been a push in terms of teams upscaling more or upskilling, and to really kind of incorporate more AI into the day-to-day work?
For sure. But I think there's two aspects that we need to consider when we are navigating AI and upskilling for AI. I think one thing that we need to remember that it is a self-investment that we're making, and that perspective might help change our approach to practicing AI and embracing AI, because it's not going anywhere. And we can stress ourselves out for something that's going to be a part of our lives moving forward that we're always
Mhm.
learning. Like, remember, like how games have changed over the years,
Absolutely.
telling my age, if you had an Atari system, Nintendo system, no, and then you go to Twitch, like there's evolutions to that. So same thing is going to happen with us similarly, not exactly as far as we understand AI, right? So there's that. And I think the other aspect of it is that we need to be mindful of how we practice psychological safety when navigating AI as well.
Yeah. Because I was also about to age myself as I was thinking about. I was like, oh yeah, and then we had Sega,
I forgot Sega,
right?
Sega
Right?
Genesis, yes.
And then it was on deck at one point, right? So I think that there's always, with anything that we're going to be evolving into, right? Whether it is technology, whether it is the type of cars that we're using, whether it's cell phones, right? At one point it was pay phones were everywhere and people were using rotary phones. And now, like, I can't even tell you the last time I saw a payphone, right? Because they've become somewhat obsolete in a world where cell phones have become the standard, right? And so I think that
Mhm.
recognizing that evolution is going to continue to occur. And so, how do we as humans figure out how to better align with the evolution while still maintaining our own humanity, right? And I think your suggestion about being about the psychological safety aspect when we are implementing AI tools and really trying to engage teams to utilize it more securely and more intentionally, there has to be a consideration about how it is going to impact people's responses to the new technology, right? This is where that concept of like change management comes in, and recognizing that when people are really exposed to new things, our brain doesn't really like new things. Okay. It likes to do the same thing the same way and move toward this concept of like automaticity in the way that it functions. So it's kind of like if you have been the way you have your morning coffee or the way you get dressed in the morning, you do things in a particular order, so much so that you don't even have to think about it. It just naturally happens that way. That is
Mm-hmm.
way that our brain is trying to move towards automaticity. So if you throw in a new technology or a new tool, even if with the best of intentions, it's going to streamline workflows, it's going to make things run more efficiently. We have to take into consideration the way that that new thing is going to require shifting in the ways that people have to now incorporate that new information into their workflow. And anytime we change something, the natural human response is resistance. It takes us time to adapt to a new thing. Remember when I had to like, this is going to sound silly, when I had to shift the way I drink my coffee, right? Like now I don't utilize one particular type of milk. I had to switch it to something else. And it took me a minute to get used to the new version. Once my brain acknowledged that, okay, yes, this is the way we're going to do it now. And couple iterations of me doing it, because sometimes I would still reach for the regular milk and I'm like, oh, I wasn't supposed to put that in there. There was definitely some of those moments, but eventually our brain adapts. And it's important to first normalize the resistance as a natural part of change, but also be intentional about really kind of scaffolding the new information and the new technologies so that people are not really showing up with so much resistance to the new technology or to the new way of doing something by incorporating AI.
And that's why those were excellent shares, by the way. Excellent. And that's why I am a big champion of human centered project management. And so EQ is important, and the components of EQ and of us being aware of it, like being really intentional with our awareness around EQ, like empathy, communication, self-awareness. Those are things that you're not going to find in AI without it being prompted to respond that way. So those are things that we need to really take time to make sure it is represented in what we do and how we interact with people. Because at the end of the day, you want people to communicate with you beyond your AI generated content. As project management professionals, we are the temperament of the project and the programs that we support and that we lead. And that although some of us do not have a leadership title, we are 100% influencers.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure that in the midst of all this, we are very diligent about the EQ, surrounded by us finding our balance with using AI, whether we are willingly participants of usage or begrudgingly participants of usage. The essence of it is still there. It's a part of what we're doing. It's a part of the lives that we're living every day now. And it is not the definition of how we choose to represent ourselves as project management professionals.
Yeah, I think the another thing to really kind of also recognize as part of that EQ aspect is that everybody is not going to have the same reaction to this new initiative, right? And so there are going to be people who are very early adopters of any type of of a technology, whether that's, it wouldn't matter if it was an Apple phone, whether it was the iPhone,
Yeah.
whether it was MacBooks, whether it was AirPods. Like, honey, it took me forever to even get onto the concept of an AirPod because I was like, I don't know how I feel about it, right? And so, and there are other people who are going to be like, oh yes, new technology coming out, I can't wait, I'm signing up for it. They want to be the first people to really kind of get into that. And so recognizing that there is a spectrum of how people embrace AI is really important to normalize that experience. Some people are going to take some time before are going to be weary of it, and that's okay. Got to
Mhm.
normalize that reaction, and provide them with the support in order to be able to see the benefits of its usage and really supporting them in implementing its usage smoothly and effectively. And then there are going to be people who are going to be like, okay, yes, I want to learn all the things and all the ways that how I can really kind of master this. And some people want to use it to really offload some of the more menial tasks that maybe they don't necessarily need to do. AI can do it for them, right? Especially when it comes to like research and looking up particular information. That's a great way to kind of pull that. But then also we still got to validate it, right? So I
Mhm.
think that there's still that additional piece of people now having to be really intentional about validating the information that they're getting, being sure to really incorporate not just the AI response, but also blending it with your own perspective and really utilize and really kind of keeping that human connection aspect at the forefront, even when you're utilizing AI in different ways.
So the essence of that is emotional resilience.
Yeah.
Yeah, emotional resilience. And from a project management professional perspective, that looks like keeping a steady pace at at a growth level that works for us while honoring our capacity.
Yeah. Because everybody needs different times to kind of fully embody a particular new technology or a new thing. And so I think one of the things that people, one of the most common fears that I hear, right, when I'm talking to people within their roles is this idea that AI is going to officially take over. I mean, even as a therapist, right, there is definitely they are absolutely utilizing AI to be able to provide responses. I mean, honestly, the amount of patients who tell me, like, "Oh yeah, I talked to Chat, I put it into Chat GPT, and that gave them the response that they some guidance about, a mental health thing." And while on one end, I kind of like low key cringe, because I'm like, maybe, but I do understand coming from a perspective where you need a response, right? And sometimes you really do have to temper and balance out the information that you're getting back, because there are therapists who are worried about AI taking their roles. There are absolutely, in different industries, people concerned about AI taking over their particular, position. And so, one, we have to continue to keep at the forefront the impact of what bringing in a new thing can create in terms of people's emotional responses to that, whether that's going to be stress, whether that could be overwhelmed by trying to understand new jargon, new tools, all of the additional tech pieces that can off for some people can be very, very off-putting, and recognize that, okay, we need to implement these strategies in ways that allow us to keep people's needs at the forefront and not just, oh, we just need to implement this thing and put it in and everybody just figure out how to use it. Like, which I've also seen done in particular organizations, and that never leaves people feeling good about it.
I think the key to that, one of the keys, because there's many solutions, it's just which one aligns best with you, is one,
Mhm.
two keys. One, honor alignment, right? Which you've been reiterating throughout this conversation. And two, I would say from a workforce development perspective, embrace upskilling, embrace reskilling. The work still needs to get done. People still need your services. Just because you use AI doesn't mean that people do not find what you bring to the table, what you contribute to your teams. It's still valuable. They still want your sauce, right?
That's it.
Basically. They want you to add your sauce. So when adding your sauce, figure out how you can have AI help you make you stand out more, be more flavorful, have more impact, having that that lingering taste in your work. So it takes time, and it is definitely can be uncertain at times when navigating it, but it's still a journey we're all on together. We're all figuring it out and how it works best for what we do. And I think that's another reminder we need to say is we are not in this by ourselves, even though it can feel isolating sometimes because you're the one trying to figure it out, possibly.
Mhm.
But it's still a journey all of us are taking. And be okay to learn from someone else. It's okay to learn from others and not be embarrassed, or, if you don't want to speak up and say, well, that's not my comfort level. Okay. It's a lot of practicing vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wanted to share this particular thing from the World Economic Forum. They wrote in the Future of Jobs report for 2025 that employers expect 39% of key skills in a role to shift by 2030. I mean, we're almost at the tail. We are at the tail end of the waning days of 2025. And so within the next 5 years, uh, about a third of the work that we do is going to need to be adjusted in one way or another. And so recognizing that change is a necessary part of life, that is the only constant thing
Yeah.
that, right, is going to be change in life. And so I think the point that you mentioned about that you are not the only person in this situation of having to pivot, upskill, and relearn some different things, and relearn and unlearn some approaches that maybe used to be. I mean, hey, if we can go from Pluto being a planet to being the moon, like, then we can absolutely, as humans on this earth, figure out how do we continue to evolve and grow. And that's not a bad thing. It's just about really figuring out how do we align the growth so that it is, one, sustainable, and two, is authentic to our own individual skill sets and strengths.
That's a wonderful way to end this episode. Awesome,
Love that.
for sure. It's a journey. Stay the course. You are already showing yourself and others how to survive it. Some are showing how to thrive on it, and just celebrate the wins along the way. And all is well. We just have to believe that and just keep learning. Stay curious, stay learning. You're doing wonderful.
Yeah,
So continue your journey of embracing AI and finding your balance in it when it comes to navigating your workplace.
yeah, definitely. And if anybody has any questions, by all means, drop them in the drop them in the comments, and we will do our best to respond. It's We're all in this together. We're all figuring out how to navigate the implementation of AI in so many industries. We'll really be curious and lean in and support each other in it.
Yep. Until next time, stay
Bye.
calm in the chaos.
Stay calm in the chaos.
Take care.